Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am UTC President and CEO Rusty Williams, and I want to thank you for joining us today on this edition of the UTC podcast that we call The Intersection, which is sponsored by Anterix. Now, we call it The Intersection because UTC and its members sit at that intersection of technology and the delivery of reliable and cost-effective utility services. You know what? Today, I'm happy to have two folks on the podcast with me to talk about a project that's near and dear to my heart here at UTC. We're going to talk about the soon to be announced, you're getting a sneak preview today, UTC Academy. And we're here with our friends from Rosenberger Network Solutions who's working with us on the UTC Academy. You're going to hear about it more as we go through the podcast. But if you've heard me speak during the spring at some of the regional events, I talked about some of the goals for the year, and one of those goals is to start two new member programs. One of those is the Armor program, which is a cybersecurity certification process, but the UTC Academy is the other. You're going to hear more about this, and it'll be officially introduced at our annual conference in Long Beach from June 16th to the 19th, but we're giving you that sneak preview today to learn more about what UTC is doing, the involvement of Rosenberger, and what to expect as we go forward. So, to that end, on this edition, my guests are Randal Neck, who's the president of Rosenberger Network Solutions, and Tom Perry, who is back with us here at UTC. You may know Randy. He's been around the utility industry and has been an associate member of UTC for several years. And also, you may know Tom from his history at Santee Cooper, where he was a utility member of UTC and at one point an officer of the board. But he most recently was with UTC helping do some member recruitment activities. I've asked Tom to come back and help us kind of project manage the development along with the Rosenberger team. And so here we are. We're getting ready to talk about it. We can see the starting line, and we're excited for everybody to hear about it. So, Randy, Tom, it's great to have you here today on this Intersection podcast.
Thanks, Rusty. Excited to be here with you guys.
Thank you, Rusty, for having me join in on the conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So, Tom, I'll start with you, if that's all right. I know you've been around, as I mentioned, for a while. I don't want to name names and call numbers of how long you've been around in the industry. I joke a lot about being the old man in the room and being burdened by history, but there's a lot to learn from, what we do through our time in this industry. But you were involved with UTC as a utility member. As I said, you actually went through the board chairs a few years back, but you've also been a UTC staff person. So you've been able to see it from that perspective. So if you can, think back to when you were at Santee Cooper and you were managing people and planning work. We talk about workforce issues. Is that something that you experienced, and is that something that you ever thought about UTC being able to help with?
Oh, absolutely. Thanks. That's a great subject. Back in the days at Santee Cooper, one of the biggest things we had was we had an ancient system. We had to find ways to upgrade it. And how'd you get that information to your people? And at the same time, some of the technicians and engineers we had were at the end of their careers. So we had new people. So we had a big void. We were lucky that our management supported UTC, encouraged us to go. And we would go to UTC meetings to one, meet our neighbors, so we knew who we were talking with, learn what they were working on, why were they working on it, what were the products, what were the advantages, disadvantages. And then our meetings started to evolve more and more. And we would learn, people would give presentations about their system, what it was about, how it worked. And we could learn from that. And then we developed a relationship with associate members who also started giving presentations at the UTC meetings. And it was a great way to learn and meet the latest technologies and vendors. And from then you had questions and you could go out and find out the information you need to help improve your system and find a direction where you were going. But at the same time, as an engineer, you had professional development hours you had to get, and UTC helped provide that. So I think the development of the academy is just a natural progression for UTC to move forward.
Yeah, it seems like we've been talking about workforce issues for many years, right? People that, are going to retire and we're going to lose a lot of the embedded knowledge that's in our workforces. And, part of the challenge is to train new people, but the other part is how do you transfer that knowledge, right? It's institutional knowledge that some of our employees have. And I think, that's part of the challenge here for this industry is, what can we do, right? What can we do to make sure we've got a qualified workforce? When I came into this job a little over a year ago, one of the things that I did that was important to me is I spent a lot of time talking to members, and that's core utility members as well as our associate members. And I wanted to hear about everything. What's good? What's bad? I'd love to ask people, if you were king for a day or queen for a day, what's the first thing you would do? And just to get the conversation started. And I heard all kinds of things. And most of it was very quality feedback. Some of it was maybe individualized. All of it was good, but some of it may have been a little narrow than the others. But one of the topics that I heard a lot was this idea of, hey, we need more training, and not just any kind of training, but we need some training that is targeted at this industry, at what we do, members of UTC. So we're talking about telecommunications systems, information systems, cybersecurity systems, the things that our people worry about. And so as the idea started morphing in my brain, I started seeing this opportunity to put some kind of tool, platform, an app. I don't know. I didn't at that point. I didn't know what it was, how it would actually manifest itself. But then I went from asking, what should we do, to, hey, I'm thinking about this idea of putting together this platform. I'll call it, for lack of a better term, to people, right? Members and associate members. And Randy was one of those that I talked to probably early fall last year, and just said, "Hey, Randy, I'm just thinking about these kind of things. What do you think?" Um, and it continued to morph. And as the year or as the fall went on, Randy came back to me and said, "Hey, I like the idea. We want to figure out a way that we can make this, that Rosenberger could make this, help make this a reality for UTC." So, Randy, again, thanks for being here. But I want you to tell us a little bit about your thinking, you and your company's thinking of, what resonated with you guys, what made you want to see if you can get involved with it, and I'll tell you what. Let's start, about Rosenberger itself. What you guys do, and then talk about, what you thought was the focus or could be the advantage of doing something like this.
The Rosenberger's network engineering business, which is the group that I'm a part of, we have an interest, a business interest, as many UTC members do, of making sure that the industry not only survives but also thrives. And a big part of that prosperity comes from the UTC members, and also just industry members in general, and their ability to anticipate where the industry is going, and be prepared for what comes next. And as I've thought back over the years that I've been in the industry, I've heard some of the same steady drumbeat, I'll call it, that you guys have from utility leaders that are struggling to attract and develop and retain what I'll call a tech savvy workforce that's needed for that road ahead, especially in a fast moving, tech driven world where it seems like just about every sector of the economy is competing pretty fiercely for the same set of skills in their workforce. And what I think makes it particularly tough for utilities is that some of that competition for those resources is coming from companies that are in the high tech business and have really deep pockets and can justify paying premium salaries because unlike utilities, that is their core business. There was a study I ran across here recently of the energy workforce. It was by a group called the the Center for Energy Workforce Development. It was done a couple of years ago, but it highlighted some key findings that I think reflect what we've been seeing. First thing, it was a little bit surprising to me, but this study found that the aging workforce gap has largely been addressed. According to this study, I'm not sure I've seen that, but that's what this study. But the problem is, it's been replaced with a new challenge of developing a younger workforce. And the other key finding that I noticed in that study was while technology jobs have shown that the most significant growth has come from the tech sector. No surprise there. Experienced people are also moving into those tech roles, so it's not just the younger workers, which leads us to the obvious question. Well, with all these new tech positions being created and all of these relatively inexperienced workers wanted to move into them, how are the skills of the utility workforce going to keep pace with the speed of technology advancement? So, and look, it's an industry-wide problem, and it's only going to get worse. So something had to be done. So Rusty, when we heard your call last year to be the one, as we've heard a number of times, and I looked around at the significant resources of Rosenberger around the world, I couldn't think of a better way for our company to make a meaningful impact on an industry that we are committed to than by creating an e-learning platform in partnership with UTC to help educate and train the workforce for the future. So with such an important need for both the industry and for Rosenberger's networking business, I just felt like this is something that we had to do.
Well, I appreciate that, and you're right. The competition for workers. I mean, several of our associate members I've talked to have told me they're training people straight out of school, engineers or otherwise, and train them for a couple of years, and the Facebooks and the Amazons and the Apples and the Netflixes and the Googles will come in and dump a bunch of money, and you can't blame them for doing that.
Yeah.
But again, what can we do? To one, you got to fill a gap. And oh, by the way, in the long term, you worried about this baby boom bubble working its way out, finished working its way out of the workforce, and you've got declining birth rates and all these other kind of things, right? So what are we going to do to fill the gap? Because utility stuff is only going to get more important, right?
Yeah.
As we're electrifying more and more, and we've got all the issues of cyber and other things, then what has not been sexy in the past 25 years for those tech-driven people should become more attractive to them if we can just figure out a way to get it in front of them. Yeah. So, all right. So the idea in my mind for this thing is almost more of a trade school kind of approach, if that term is still in vogue these days, right? Teach people skills that they need to do their job. There's a place for every piece of it, but thinking about this as targeted from a technical perspective and an application. When I say application, the use of the technology.
Mhm.
So, if you think about it from that perspective, Tom, let's just talk a little bit. I know we don't have all of the details worked out, and it may be a while, right? Excuse me, that it would get all this worked out. But as you're kind of seeing this begin to morph, it's beginning to come together at some different levels. Give me a conceptual idea, Tom, from your perspective of what this thing sort of looks like. And, if I were to log on to utcacademy.org, what do I see? What kind of things will be out there?
I'd be happy to. In fact, we had a meeting this morning with Rosenberger about the latest modifications that we have in the platform. But you log in, you'll have your own user profile. You come in, it'll show you, for example, what courses you've taken, what progress you've made on them. And it will also give you the ability, you can come in and search on a subject that's of interest to you that will be in the academy that you can pull up. It'll tell you about the instructor, how long it takes to take the course, how it's broken down. It'll list any prerequisites that you may have to take, and also tell you how long it takes to complete it. It may be a series of courses to get everything that you want. It may be like the 101, 201, 301 structure, which may consume 3 45-minute to an hour courses, or it could be a single course by itself. And at the end, you have a chance to do a review of the course that you took. You can see what others are talking about it. It will recommend to you, based on your interest, some other courses that may be of interest to you. You'll also find that there'll be a center called resources, of which you can go and it may not necessarily be courses, but it may be like a white paper that's out there, or a webinar that you've seen before, or maybe even a presentation from a regional meeting that you want to see again or get more information from. But that's the kind of things that we're envisioning, Rusty, out there.
Well,
Be available to all members.
what we try to do is really take the best features of some other really world-class e-learning platforms, adapt them to our industry, and improve upon them where we can, so that we have a program that's not only effective for the learning aspect of which is the most important, but we also wanted something that's going to be appealing in a number of different ways to keep both the learners and also content providers coming back for more.
Yeah, so there's a lot of nuances to this, right? And it's hard to squeeze it into a 30-minute podcast. So you're going to hear more about it in Long Beach in several different arenas while you're there. So be on the lookout, and we'll get you more marketing kind of information about that as we get closer to that particular event. But there's ideas of, we want people that are involved in this industry to provide content. Right? It's not, we don't have a staff of professors that is going and creating all this content. We may create some of it, but we'd love members to go and be a part of it. Randy, talk just a smidge about the mix of on-site, kind of training, like at some of our conferences, and how that kind of melds with the online portion, at least at some conceptual level.
Well, there's talking about the population for a minute of all of the universe, I'll call it, people that are out there, not only within the industry, but even outside the industry. I believe there's a very large community of people out there that are experts in different aspects of technology, and also others that would love to learn about technologies that are not necessarily affiliated with the industry today. And our hope is that we will create an environment that's going to attract all of the above. And look, it's not just technology here. I know that's the easy part to it, but there's some other material that we hope that the platform will offer to help utility workers grow in their careers. So it's beyond technology. It could be things like management and leadership. So the sky's the limit, really, on what we could provide. But the platform is flexible enough to be able to do all of those things and host all of those different things. As far as the how it works in concert with in-person events, look, there are some types of content that are just well suited to in-person events. So looking at the Academy more holistically, our hope is that we're going to have content that's available online that fits the crazy schedules that we all have, and allow Academy participants to learn on their own time when their time permits. But there are also some things that we want to make available maybe in-person events at UTC, either the national meeting or maybe regional meetings, some things that just lend themselves better to that type of training, that type of learning, the more hands-on piece, and maybe some of that is the certification piece of it. So our hope is that by looking much more holistically about learning and what it takes to educate a world-class workforce for the future, we're going to combine the best of both worlds, the online piece and also the in-person piece that will help provide a very well-rounded education experience and something that's lasting. That it's not something that someone sits through a 30-minute session and then that's the end of it, and then a day or a week or a month later, 90% of it is just gone. It's not retained. We hope that the mechanisms that we have in place through the academy will do a much better job of making that learning stick.
Okay. So Tom, one other conceptual question. So it's not just UTC members that will have access to this portal, this training material, right?
That is correct. We hope to open it to everybody, but it will be driven by topics from UTC members. They will be the decision makers of what topics we need to put in there. So it will still be driven by UTC, but yes, we want to open it to everybody.
Yeah, so we have, several objectives with this, and one is to provide more value to our members that are here, as Tom just kind of referenced. Obviously, we'd love to have more members as a result of this. And selfishly, some of this will be for a fee and some of it may be for free. We'll decide that on a case by case basis, but that should hopefully increase revenue for the association. But we're looking to help individuals and the industry as a whole, as Randy was talking about earlier. Now, we talked about having, member provided content. It's not quite to the Wikipedia kind of slant, complete crowdsourcing kind of slant, but at the same time, we are open and want people to submit material. And Tom, we talked about that a little bit on kind of some of the structure we've got associated with that.
Yeah, we fully encourage members who want to provide content to please do it. We've got a really good guideline to follow to submit, so that all the courses will be familiar. They'll be in a standard format, but we're not so rigid that we won't work with people as well, trying to get the content started and out there because we want the subjects that you want out there.
Yeah, and we do have, you'll hear and see websites and email addresses and UTC Academy at utc.org. So there's several opportunities for you to submit information or ask questions. But we're not there yet. As we said, we're still working out some of the low-level details. And quite honestly, Randy, as we think about this, the full vision of this thing could be massive, right?
Oh, yeah.
But the challenge that I have personally, and this is just with everything in my life, it's not just the academy, is being patient and letting this thing play out like it should at a time, over a time that, is more reasonable. So let's think about this, Randy. When we step back, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, who knows if I'm around by then, we'll figure that out. But if we look back at it 5 years from now, what do we want to see? Right? What's the result of if we do this right? Right? So, what are we looking at smiling about 5 years from now?
Rusty, as you said, it's so easy to get carried away with the potential that a program like the Academy has for the industry. But I'll try to restrain myself. Look, I don't believe I'm exaggerating by saying a program like this is it's essential to meet the industry challenges, which are it's transformational. I guess I don't think that's overstating it. Over the next few years and even the next generation, I think the approach that we're taking is unique, certainly for the industry, in part because it's really based on a fundamental belief that learning requires more than just lecturing. Our approach bends or blends that proven learning method that we're all familiar with, the classroom type instruction techniques, but it goes beyond that and delivers them much more effectively. So rather than the same old, the long videos or click through slides, this approach takes advantage of some more engaging tools that modern technology can offer. And yeah, it's going to have video lectures, but it's going to have webinars, slide decks, quizzes. I mean, you name it. Um, but we're not stopping there, as we talked about before. This is going to include the in-person content as well. As I like to say, this is a program to learn by doing, not just watching. So with the combination of this self-paced, the learn anytime, anywhere kind of flexibility, and you couple that with the practical, hands-on reinforcement, we think the UTC Academy by Rosenberger is going to become really the gold standard for industry-specific learning and a model that we think other industries are going to adopt. As far as the impact is concerned in different areas for people, I think the e-learning portion of it meets people where they are on their terms, on their schedule. It's got short, focused lessons that are part of a structured and modular program that gradually builds knowledge and skills step by step. Again, it's not just for technology type learning, but it also keeps pace with other non-technical skills that help the workforce grow and evolve as their careers do. From a company standpoint, I think as a result of this, the companies are going to have a much better prepared workforce that's going to allow them to respond to more of a technology fueled market, but also position them to anticipate change and maybe even lead it, which would be, I think, a remarkable accomplishment for the industry to be in a more of a leadership position when it comes to technology. But speaking of the industry, I mean, think about where all of this could lead if the academy becomes more mainstream with all of the members of the utility community participating, contributing. The academy could become like a talent magnet, attracting the best and brightest to the industry, who could then in turn become content providers themselves. And then propel the industry even further. Just look at, I was looking at some of this the other day, the other e-learning platforms, Coursera, Khan Academy, LinkedIn Learning, all of those. And just see how popular those tools are with learners. The Coursera number I saw just recently, they had 150 million registered learners. That's a phenomenal number. But I think it's really a strong indication of the appetite for this kind of learning. But what we're developing is it's a little unique because it's industry specific and industry driven, like Tom was mentioning, tailor-made to deliver just that right knowledge and skills that utility people need to hit the ground running. It's not just the generic stuff that requires learners to connect the dots themselves, or it's not a curriculum that's loaded with a bunch of fluff that has little or nothing to do with what's needed to get the job done. So for all of those reasons, I think the future of the academy is incredibly bright. I think it's going to be something that not only is the right kind of program for the time, but it's also the right kind of program for the industry.
Well, the way I've looked at it, and you kind of touched the bases, we help individuals improve, which helps their companies get better. which helps this industry get better, right? So it's the old adage of when the tide comes in, all ships rise. And that's really what we're wanting to do, is make it, beneficial for the industry. I'll tell you what, let's close right there. It's a lot to talk about. And again, you're going to hear a lot more about this in Long Beach at our annual conference. You'll see more information about different meetings and sessions and other things to talk about this, but just mark it down. UTC Academy by Rosenberger. Probably haven't said that enough today during this podcast. UTC Academy by Rosenberger. And it's going to be great. It's going to be that tool, that platform, that opportunity to make us all better. All right, Tom, Randy, thank you for being with me today, talking about this program. Again, we can see the enthusiasm here amongst us three. Hopefully that will start to spread with members around the association. But I want to thank Randy and the Rosenberger team for their support in this and catching the vision with me, and Tom for his help and helping lead this and through with the Rosenberger team. So both of you, thank you for what you're doing. Look forward to being able to get the benefit, and look forward to seeing you all in Long Beach here in a couple of months.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, guys, both.
All right. That will do it for this edition of the Intersection Podcast, sponsored by Anterix. I hope you'll subscribe to this podcast. We try to do one every month, so be on the lookout for future monthly episodes. I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you for meeting us at the Intersection. For more information about the Utilities Technology Council, visit utc.org.
In the dynamic world of private LTE networks for utilities, it's all about a collective approach toward grid modernization solutions. Together with our 100+ member ecosystem and the Utility Strategic Advisory Board, we're de-risking private LTE investments. We're not just providing solutions, we're pioneering a cleaner, safer, more affordable, and secure energy future through 900 megahertz powered private LTE networks. By joining us, you're part of a force driving innovation, accelerating returns, and future-proofing the entire ecosystem. It's more than spectrum. It's about evolving together. Don't miss out. Embrace the power of collective action, ensuring a sustainable utility private LTE evolution.
To learn more, visit Anterix.com.